All right, let's talk a little bit about He-Man and some of these new He-Man projects that are coming out from Netflix and the action figures that are going to be based on them. So, me personally, I I don't know what we're going to call this one, but let's call it the Kids He-Man because it's something that's aimed at kids. When I
Yeah,
saw the image of what that version of He-Man was supposed to look like, my reaction was kind of like, okay,
it could be worse.
I guess it could definitely be worse, but
We could be getting the Thundercats Go style
oh
version.
god, no! Pass me the eye bleach. I need the eye bleach. No, but like I'm just kind of like I wasn't offended by it or anything. It just wasn't something that really appealed to me. And honestly, my reaction was, well, hope kids like it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like that's
I
like,
did
hmm?
I did ask. I had the picture pulled up on my phone, and I showed it to Jordan, my little one, and he looks at it and he goes, "Cool," and that was it. So
Yeah.
he does. They do like the classic He-Man. I've
Mm-hmm.
shown them the Filmation series, and they were glued to the TV. They love it. They play with my Origins figures
Yeah.
and the classics figures that I let them have, and they love them. So
Mm-hmm.
they're interested in the classic depiction of He-Man. Also, I almost said Superman.
Yeah.
Uh, but they're into that too. But maybe this will appeal to them, and it's like you said, it's not overly offensive to me.
Yeah, I mean, like there's things that I like I said, I wouldn't even say I dislike them, but they're just kind of things that like don't necessarily excite me. And I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever. It's honestly, I won't mind if at the end of the day, it's the sort of thing where it's like, like my old He-Man kind of becomes like the GI Joe adventure team versus
Yeah,
this new
yeah,
He-Man being kind of like a
right.
real American hero. And it's like, well, kids today like it, so good for them. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
I'll just
Well,
keep collecting my old stuff over here, you know.
I
So
if the figures look cool enough, I'll buy those too.
yeah,
I'm not opposed to the idea of two different He-Man lines. Although if we are getting a second uh, line of He-Man figures, the Revelations line based on the Kevin Smith show.
yeah,
But we could have as many as three different He-Man lines going at
yeah.
once if they keep the Origins running. So
Hopefully Origins keeps going because I love those. The Kevin Smith ones look a little more my speed, but they're also not like I'm also not like enamored with them either. I'm just kind of like, oh, well, those look nice, but as far as 7-inch He-Man figures go, I already have like a ton of Masters of the Universe classics, and I like those better. If I'm
yeah,
being quite honest. Like I
Here,
don't
here's
know. Yeah. So
here's the
like
Origins He-Man again.
the
That's what he.
Origins, I love. Yeah, see, I've got mine right here. I did a little bit of tweaking to this one. I don't know if like you'd seen it, but I repainted the trunks and the boots
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
try to get them to be more like the original color, but I think I went too dark. But and then of course I've got the head from the Battle Armor He-Man, the one that's supposed to look like
yeah,
the more sort of like the
yep.
vintage toy.
I can't do that because unlike you, I don't get He-Man figures where I live. This is pretty much the only one I found. This and Skeletor. None of
Yeah.
the stores had any of the other ones. So
And I took this older harness that I had, which I think came off a commemorative He-Man. So it makes him like even a little more old school. The sword fits a little better in the back, I think. But I was pretty happy with that one. So
yeah,
that's kind of like my definitive Origins He-Man, or at least as close to definitive as I can get. And of course, I started working on Wonder Bread He-Man.
yeah.
So
You got to make them a little loaf of Wonder Bread too.
oh yeah, yeah. I got on eBay coming to me. I got the old weapons pack. I was
Mhm.
able to get a loose. I thought it was complete, but it's not quite complete because I think there's supposed to be like a Manny Faces gun in there that's missing, but it's most everything. It's got like the blue power sword and the
Yeah,
yellow Beastman armor, but I'm gonna put the black Zodak armor onto him and
right.
you know
An
go all
official.
out on my Wonder Bread He-Man. So
So those Revelations figures.
yeah,
They are a different scale, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed by them because this show is supposed to be a direct sequel to the original Filmation animated series. And I
Yeah.
was kind of disappointed that the designs don't look anything like the Filmation designs, which would have been really cool and was what I expected.
Mhm.
These ones look. I'll probably try to put a picture in here of them when I go to edit the video, but they look very kind of anime, and I suspect they'll look even more like that. But you know, I dig that they're a different scale, that they're a little taller, and that they have more articulation. But kind of, you know, not really what I was expecting from that line.
Well, to me, like, it looked almost like kind of with He-Man and Skeletor, at least. It looked like it was kind of splitting the difference between the Filmation designs and the 2000X kind of designs for He-Man and Skeletor. And the only other character that we saw besides He-Man, Skeletor, and Battle Cat was Evil Lyn. And Evil Lyn was the one where I just wasn't impressed with it at all.
Yeah, I'll have to go look after we finish this discussion. I didn't get a really good look at her. The picture I saw was kind of small and wasn't very detailed, but she didn't look like Evil.
He-Man and Skeletor, to me, I looked at them and I'm like, oh, okay, those look cool. They look like, you know, He-Man and Skeletor. So those should be nice. And Battle Cat looked fine. And yeah, Evil Lyn was the one out of like the bunch that I was just kind of like, she looks like a Last Airbender character or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
not bad.
Nothing against the Last Airbender, but it's like a completely different design aesthetic from He-Man.
Yeah,
it doesn't really work. It didn't really work for me at all.
I'll tell you, I think the biggest problem for me with the Revelations designs was that you know, just seeing the figures, that's all we've seen so far. I don't think they've released any images from the show, have they?
I don't think so, no.
So
that's all I've seen so far is just those action figures.
I think the thing that I was most taken aback by was that they seem really under detailed, especially for 7-inch figures. They seem really kind of smooth and not a whole lot of detail to them.
Yeah.
Which I think if they had looked a little bit more like the 2002 figures, you know, that were sculpted by the Four Horsemen and they were a little more designy than the classics, I think I would have liked it much better. Well,
plus the other thing about that is that, you know, since they were just kind of like these tiny little blurry images, I don't feel like I was able to really get like the full effect, and they might wind up looking a lot more detailed than what they looked like in those images. So
they could early prototypes also, but yeah, in hand, I'm hoping they look a little more detailed.
Yeah. See, like I was really hoping that like it would be the sort of thing where they would have like a lot of that kind of 2000X kind of detail to them, just because you know, it's a line more aimed at adults, and that's kind of the thing we more respond to, is seeing a lot of the detailed sculpts and everything. And I'm like, sure, yeah, I know it's based on an animated version, but that doesn't mean you couldn't put the extra sort of detail into it.
Yeah.
So I much prefer that sort of thing. Like I'm not really that big of a fan of like Filmation style figures for that reason, because like the furry parts of the costume just look kind of like blobby, shapeless masses because they don't really.
I think they're neat to have. You know, this just because they call back to the Filmation show. But if that was the only He-Man figure on the market, I'd be disappointed in that.
There's very few Filmation figures that I have, and most of the ones that I have are ones that I got because let's see, I got the whole wave with Man-E-Faces, Sorceress, Merman, and Tongue Lasher. And you know, I mainly got it because the Sorceress. And I'm like, you know, she looks fine because, you know, she doesn't really have fur detail to her anyway. She has like feathery detail, and it's gonna look fine.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have the Sorceress, And honestly, I think that Sorceress is better than the Classics version. So I'm fine having the Filmation Sorceress. Manny Faces, I don't have Manny Faces from Classics. So I was happy to have a Manny Faces. Even if he wasn't quite as detailed as the Classics one. You know, I like that one better in terms of the coloring, even, because I feel like the coloring on that one is closer to the original figure. So it's just kind of like, neither one of them's perfect, so I'm just happy with the one that I have.
Yeah.
That Merman figure was really surprising to me how much I liked it. Because originally I was thinking I'd just flip Merman, you know, because I'm like, I don't really need Merman. I already have like a Classics Merman. But once I took it, you know, out of the shipping box and looked at it, I was like, I fell in love with it. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm keeping this Merman. This is really cool. And
yeah, of all the Filmation versions, he did have a really cool design.
Yeah, yeah. And the Tongue Lasher figure I thought was just like awful, but I thought the design was awful. So it's like, you know, they were kind of polishing a turd with that one. So that one is still in its box in my storage space. Like, I just don't care about it. And it's like, I've even tried to sell it because I'm like, nobody wants this damn thing.
Yeah.
So, and then besides that, the only other Filmation figure I bothered to get was Tila, because I particularly like her design on the Filmation show. And I'm like, well, the boots aren't like, don't have as much fur texture on there as I would like, but for the most part, she looks good. So I'm like, and I wouldn't mind. I think I would like to try to get the She-Ra from that line, because I think that again, she doesn't really have fur texture on her anyway, so she would look fine. But yeah, it's like I don't like the ones that like just where they've got like Beast Man, where he's all smooth everywhere, and
super
it's like,
simple. Yeah, no textures.
Yeah, and if you look at the Classics Beast Man, it's, to me, that's like one of the masterpieces of that line. Like the Classics Beast Man is just like, if he's not my favorite figure in the Classics line, he's a really close second to Tila, because I do love that Tila figure. But you know, that's just me. Like, I know a lot of people really love the Filmation figures, and more power to them. I'm glad they have them, but it's just, I wasn't that interested in them, which is a really roundabout way of saying that I kind of hoped that, even though I knew they were based on a cartoon, they would be more aesthetically in line, Revelations, I mean, with Classics than they were with the Filmation figures.
I have nearly all of the Classics. I want to say, except for the last year that was in production, and maybe some of the stuff that Super 7 put out. But I don't have any of the Filmation figures. That's not to say I want them, but I wouldn't have wanted them in place of the Classics, because the Classics are, you know, they're probably the best Masters of the Universe figures ever done. And you know, the Filmation ones I would have wanted more as a I don't know, I guess I'd call them a curiosity. Just because, you know, they look exactly like they did in the show, which was super simplified, so they'd be easy to draw.
I did have this Club Grayskull Skeletor head that I got, which I put onto
that is really cool
body, and that one looks awesome.
Yeah,
so, but that was from where, like, I was just able to get the head on eBay for like $6, and
let's see that again. That's probably the best Skeletor head I think they've done. That is really cool.
I really like that one. And I took the commemorative armor and put that on him instead of the regular Origins armor, because I felt like the purple matched a bit better. You can see he still has the Origins staff and the Origins boots, but you know, I kind of figured, it doesn't have to be the same shade of purple. It's just I just kind of want the armor to match the hood. You know? But yeah, this is probably my favorite Skeletor figure that I have, like, at least out of Origins. I like the Alcala head on the Classics. That's the one that I keep on that.
Yeah, that's a really cool one too. I noticed they have a whole. People are online are finding way more Origins figures than I'm finding, but I've noticed that they have a kind of a subset of figures based on the Alcala designs.
Yeah, those are they put out like a set, like in a carrying case, that was a Lords of Power set. But apparently they're going to have those figures coming out at regular retail on the single cards. I don't know if it's going to be where, like, they're going to have like slight paint differences or something like that.
Yeah.
to ensure the value of the collector's figures, or if
That's
it's
not-
just the packaging difference.
Yeah.
But personally, I always really liked the design on the cross sell artwork for Merman,
Yeah.
and I liked
Right.
that better than the actual toy. So I'm
Mhm.
really hoping at least to get Merman. Like, I pretty much already have, like, this is pretty much already that He-Man, because he's got
Mhm.
that battle armor He-Man head on him, and I'm good with that. So I really need a Lords of Power style He-Man. Like yeah, the Skeletor would be okay, but it's kind of like, he's got more of a zombie head than a skull head, so it's not really that definitive to me. But I wouldn't
Mhm.
mind having it. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be fine to have. Same with Man at Arms. He's just like a little different from, the original toy.
Mhm.
And Beast Man is like practically looks like a different character. He's
Yeah.
that different. But that Merman, I gotta have that Merman. Like, I'm just like a total Merman mark anyway. So he's one of my favorites.
Yeah. We should maybe talk about what we're expecting from this Kevin Smith show, because I honestly, like, I'm hoping for the best, and I
Yeah.
love Kevin Smith. I'm a huge fan, but the guy has admitted in the past he was supposed to direct the Green Hornet movie that
Uh-huh.
eventually starred Seth Rogen, and he ended up backing out of that. He admits that he's not great at writing action,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing he is great at is writing dick jokes. And I'm kind of worried that that this show is a little too much of that. But I honestly don't know. He's a fan of He-Man, so hopefully it turns out to be a little more faithful than that, and a little more true to the the original source material. What do you expect?
Here's what I'll say about that would make me kind of optimistic, is that, like, he's not directing it.
Yeah.
He's just writing it. So it's like we don't have to worry about him, like, trying to figure out how to direct, like, action, because, like, it's animated. So the people who are doing the animation, they figure all that out. It could be the sort of thing where he just writes "they fight" into the script and leaves it to the animators to figure out, like, how the action scene works. But the other thing also is that, when you're writing an animated show like that, it's very rarely one person writing everything.
Yeah.
They probably got like a whole team of writers that, this guy writes this episode and this guy writes this other episode, and it's probably more of a collaborative effort even than, they sit down in the writer's room and figure out where their overall story is going to go. And so
what I'm thinking is that he's probably written the Bible for the show.
Yeah.
And he's kind of acting more of in a producer role, and he's kind of guiding it, and the directors will handle the action and stuff, and that there probably is a stable of writers that's going to handle individual episodes.
I don't know how big a fan of He-Man that Kevin Smith is, because I've never heard him discuss He-Man, at least not before he started doing the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, the extent of how big of a fan he is of it, but it does seem to me like Kevin Smith is the kind of guy that would respect the fandom.
Yeah, he's going to be
like,
fans at the very least.
He wouldn't want to come in there and just be like, well, I'm just going to subvert all of their expectations because that amuses me. And, like, I wouldn't want to make something that everybody likes. I would want to make something that, like, half the people really like it and half the people really hate it, and just really subvert. He's not that kind of person, I don't think.
Yeah, right.
Kevin Smith seems to be like the kind of guy where, like, he's seen enough things that he's a big fan of that he's seen adapted badly.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be that guy.
He's at least going to try to satisfy fan expectations.
Yeah, and if he does fail, I feel like it would be a noble failure, where it's like, well, you gave it your effort there, Kev. It's like, so I've got pretty high hopes for it. I'm trying to maintain it with some cautious optimism, but it's like, man, I would really love to see, like, a really good, high quality He-Man show that really respected those characters. So it's been a while since anybody's tried to do anything at all with He-Man.
Supposedly this movie is still coming too, and I if I'm being honest with myself, I'm not really expecting that to respect fan expectations.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess we'll see. Like, again, I try to be kind of cautiously optimistic about it, but I don't know. Like, it seems to me like He-Man is something where, like, if you're not a fan of it, people tend to look at it like kind of like a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like make a bunch of like gay jokes and things like that about it, and it's just kind of like, I would imagine Kevin Smith would have some kind of gay jokes in there, but it wouldn't be the focus of it. You know what I mean?
This is a mature show, a mature audience show. It is for adults.
Yeah.
So it's going to carry that MA rating. That, you know what? That's another thing I'm concerned about. I'm worried that people aren't going to know it, and there's going to be a lot of controversy over it. Because parents don't really. A lot of parents, they don't tend to be informed about that kind of stuff, and they'll know that there's a kids He-Man show on, and they'll put a show for their kids, and it's going to be a little too adult, and it'll cause a lot of controversy.
I used to love He-Man so much. Little Timmy's going to love it too, and then you put it on, and it's like, I can't believe Tila sucked 36 dicks. It's like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So, we'll just have to see where it goes. But like I said, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about it. I think he's going to at least try to do something that we're going to enjoy.
Yeah.